Hey guys, welcome back to A Little Less Lisa. If you're new here, my name is Lisa, and this channel is all about my health, wellness, fitness, and weight loss maintenance journey. So if that's something you're interested in, I'd love to see you back here. Click the subscribe button and the notification bell so every time I upload a video. This is my 1 year recap video. Yes, I know I'm a little bit late and I've been promising this for weeks, but it's just, I haven't had time to film it, and there's a lot of information I need to include. I've got spreadsheets here, I've got notes here, and questions that you guys had. So thank you for those of you who left questions. We will get to those at the end. I'm kind of going to do my recap here first. So if you're interested in hearing about my weight loss journey over the last year and now obviously into maintenance, then keep on watching. So I will go ahead and link my first 2 videos that I did on this channel because it really goes over my history and background with being overweight and weight loss and different things that I've done throughout my years to try to lose weight. And I'll do a little Reader's Digest version right here, but if you want to hear the whole story and my background, how I got started in this, then you can check out those first 2 videos on my channel. But I have been dieting ever since I was 13 years old, and I remember that because I remember my very first diet that I went on. There was nothing really, like, I don't think that there were any big well-known diets at that time. I think it was just more don't eat so much and watch your calorie intake and that kind of thing. Started a diet, I think around maybe May or so, or June of, it would have been 1980, and did it through the summer and basically just counted calories. So I think I remember we had like a little book, it was about this big, I think, and a pocketbook, and it literally just had food in it with calories. Does anybody else remember that? Oh my gosh, I'm like coming back to me now. It's weird, but yeah, it was like a little book. And so, look up, oh, how many calories is a medium apple or whatever. And, obviously we all have apps that we use to track food, and yeah. And so I guess I probably wrote it down on a piece of paper. If I had to guess, maybe I had like a notebook or something that I tracked it in. But anyway, it's my first diet. And then again, whole history of doing everything under the sun, from OptiFast to Weight Watchers to Atkins to you name it, Stop the Insanity. Remember that one? What was her name? Susan Powder. Remember the spiky, like platinum silver hair? It was all about no fat, right? Then we had the whole low fat fad that we were on, and eat as many potatoes as you wanted because they were low fat. But anyway, it's funny when you think about those things. So anyway, that's kind of my history. So coming more into current times, although still in the past, in 2006, I lost a fairly significant amount of weight. I think my starting weight was like 227, and then I sort of ended around the 143. Yeah, kind of varied between probably 140 to 147, something, in that kind of range, which is why then we'll talk about how that was sort of my goal weight. And I maintained that weight, as I said, within 5 to 10, sometimes I would go up like 15 pounds, but then, it would take a month and a half, 2 months, and I would lose that. It was super easy to lose that weight again. And I really maintained that for a good about 13 years or so. It was about 2019 when I just started putting weight on again. And it was, I would try to do what I did in the past, and it would, whereas I could lose, 2.5 pounds in a week or something, then maybe I'd lose 0.2 pounds or something. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And then we had the pandemic, and I was actually somebody who lost weight during the pandemic. So I had gotten up to 199 pounds. I remember this because I was like, I thought for sure I would have been back over 200. And I was 199.0 pounds. I was just so happy that I hadn't crossed over into the 200s, but clearly I had put on like 50 pounds, and that was a significant amount of the weight that I had lost. I'd lost like 87 pounds or whatever, and just put on almost about 50 of them. So I went on Weight Watchers, or WW as they were calling it at that time. I did that, and I was losing at a slower rate for sure, but I was losing. And I got a Peloton during that time, and I loved working out on it. I was really focused on it, and I ended up getting down to about 100 and probably 155, maybe somewhere around there. So, I lost a good 35 pounds or so. And I got down to that, and then I don't really know what happened. I guess menopause, that's what happened. Menopause happened, and the weight started kind of creeping up again, and I never got back to as high as I was, but I ended up being like high 180s or so. And everything that I would try at this point now, being postmenopausal, just nothing worked, and lose absolutely nothing. And it was really frustrating. So I saw a friend of mine who I know through Instagram, actually, and I saw her losing weight. Like, she would post pictures, and usually because she does a lot of Pilates, and so she would take pictures like post Pilates or whatever. And, I could see that she was losing weight, but you know how it is, like you kind of see somebody, and then there's a picture where you're like, all of a sudden, wow, you really lost weight. And so in addition to that, a YouTube friend on here that I know from my other channel had said that she was starting on Ozempic, and she was getting it through a med spa or some kind of sports medicine, not her actual, her regular physician. And I had no idea, and I had reached out to this friend that I know through Instagram who lives, locally here, and said, hey, you look awesome. What are you doing? Whatever. And I had no idea that she was taking any of the GLP-1 medications. And she's like, I'm taking tirzepatide. Now, I had not heard tirzepatide. My husband actually takes Mounjaro because he has diabetes, but I didn't know that that's what it was. I didn't know that Mounjaro was tirzepatide. You just always heard about Ozempic, right? It was, the ads were about Ozempic, and the stars were all taking Ozempic. And so I had no idea what that was, but that, spurred me to do some more research. And that's when I found my initial sort of telehealth. It was kind of a med spa / telehealth kind of thing. And I decided to go on tirzepatide. So I will now insert for you here a video that I took on the first day. I had really planned, I guess, when I watched this video back, to kind of continue a video diary until I decided if / when I was actually going to start a channel, or, let the world know on the internet that I was doing this. But I clearly didn't. So just so you know, when I say that, I guess I meant to do that, but I just never did. So anyway, watch this and you'll see how my first day was on tirzepatide. Hey friends, not sure you will ever even see this video because I haven't decided whether I'm going to talk about this or not. But I have decided to go on the weight loss drug tirzepatide, which is the compounded version of Zepbound, which is the same as Mounjaro if you're diabetic. Anyway, I just was really tired of feeling this way in my body. So I did a lot of research and decided that this was something that I wanted to do. So I found a place that I was comfortable with in order to get the prescription, and it arrived today. So I just took my first dose. We will see how I do, if I have any, side effects. About 9:30 on Friday evening. So I've heard everything. I mean, literally it depends on the person. Some people are like, take it at night before you go to bed, because that way if you have side effects, you'll sleep through them. Some people say side effects, keep them up, so take it during the morning. Some people say the medicine keeps them awake, so I don't know. It seems like it's all over the board. So it just arrived and we were out when it came. So this was the first opportunity I had to take it. I think the good news is that taking it on a Friday will be good for me, because if I do have some side effects that affect me, I'll have them on the weekend, which means, you know, it won't affect my work, etc. I mean, obviously it's a bummer that it would impact my weekend, but anyway, I probably will not take it this late normally. Like, I had anticipated on maybe taking it maybe like around 3 in the afternoon on a Friday, just so, you know, I don't know why. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But anyway, I just, like I said, wanted to start this video. Like I said, whether it sees the light of day, I don't know, but thought I would at least document the journey, either just for me or for all of you as well. So wish me luck, and I'll check in as the week goes on. So 5 weeks later, I started this channel. I took my first shot, I'm going by my spreadsheet here, on March 28th. Obviously took 2.5 milligrams. I took it in my right stomach, and I started, so the day I took my first shot, I weighed 183.8 pounds. Now, when I filled out my initial paperwork for the med spa, I was around 187 something. 3 days or so before I got my meds, because I wasn't exactly sure when my meds were going to arrive, because they actually came from Hallandale Pharmacy in Florida. I knew I had watched enough videos by that time, and, you know, everybody was talking about, you know, how to prepare and what you should do, and, you know, how to prepare for side effects, and, you know, what's the best time to take your shot, or what day, or whatever. Anyway, so I tried to take a couple days before I got my medicine to start really drinking water, and I started watching what I was eating. I focused more on protein, and so, you know, I lost like 3.5 pounds or something in between that time, but I don't count from that weight, because for me, my journey really started when I took my first shot. So I was 183.8 pounds. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go through like month by month. So I did every 4 weeks, because in the beginning, I thought, like a lot of people did, you move up doses, right? Every 4 weeks, that's what you're supposed to do. You move from 2.5 to 5.0 to 7.5. Well, I quickly went away from that, but my spreadsheet, basically what I did is I broke it into every 4 weeks. So I'll sort of call it months, but when I say it, it's every 4 weeks. It's just for your own informational purposes. So just, I guess, as the only one, I'll give you just a week's worth. In my first week, I lost 8.2 pounds. Now that was thrilling. Now, was that 8.2 pounds of fat? Hell no. I'm sure early on, you know, for the first, I don't know how many weeks, because I didn't do a DEXA scan to start, point number one, or that we'll get to later. So I don't know how much muscle I started with is my point, but I'm sure a lot of what I lost initially probably was muscle, unfortunately. So first week, 8.2 pounds, and then by the end of 4 weeks, I had lost 15.6 pounds for an average of 3.9. I did move up to 5 milligrams that 5th week and was like sicker than a dog. So I backed off that next week, went back down to 2.5, then did 2 weeks of 3.75. That is the beauty of being on a compounded medication, because it's in a vial and you can withdraw whatever amount of medicine that you want. Now, obviously, if you're on 2.5, you don't want to jump and take a 10 milligram dose, right? But, you know, that allowed me to kind of stair step my way up to 5 milligrams, and that ended up being a much better thing for me. So for the second 4 weeks, I lost 8 pounds. So that obviously was an average of 2 pounds per week. The third 4 weeks, I lost 11 pounds, which was an average of 2.75 pounds. Now, interestingly, around the 8-week period is where I started getting some of the red spots. If they're kind of like a quarter size or so area around where you gave the injection that gets red, it does kind of get itchy. It gets warm to the touch, and then it goes away. And we'll get into kind of side effects in some of the questions. The fourth 4 weeks, I lost 6.4 pounds or 1.6 pounds per week average. And so I got to my goal weight, which, as I mentioned earlier in this video, my initial thought was I want to get back down to where I was, back in from 2006 to 2019, which was around 143 pounds, because I felt very comfortable at that weight at that time. Now, I hadn't gone through menopause yet. I was probably maybe starting into perimenopause in 2019, but certainly hadn't started menopause and I hadn't finished, and now, to be postmenopausal. And so I got down to that weight at the end of week 15. So it took me 15 weeks to lose 40 pounds. And I got to that weight and I went into maintenance, or I thought I was going into maintenance, and decided that, I really wasn't happy with what I saw in the mirror at that weight. And, weight looks differently on every person, right? You can have 4 people standing in a line, all who weigh the same amount, even some at the same height, and they're all going to look different. None of our bodies are the same. Well, even for me at the same weight, my body didn't look the same, because of menopause and things, weight had shifted, or, wherever I gained the weight, I definitely had quite a bit of visceral fat, which is not the fat that you want. That's the fat around your organs. That's the very dangerous fat. So after kind of trying maintenance for about 2 weeks, I thought, what? I really think that I want to get, let's do another 10 pounds and get down to like 130, whatever, and have lost a total of 50 pounds. So I started that endeavor. The next set of 4 weeks, I lost 4.6 pounds or 1.15 pounds per week. The next set of 4 weeks, I lost 5.2 pounds or an average of 1.3. And that is basically where I got. So it was essentially week 24 is when I got to the 50-pound mark. And after that, then I decided to go into maintenance. Now, the way I do maintenance, if you're new to my channel, is generally every week I come and give you an update on how my week went. And I report my weight not by, I was up 0.6 pounds or, I was down 1.2 pounds or whatever, because in my opinion, once you hit what you want your maintenance weight to be, or I heard somebody say it's not a goal weight, it's a happy weight. And I really liked that, because I think that really is what it is, right? So for me, my goal initially was like 143, but I wasn't happy at that weight. And so I wanted to go for that even 50 pounds, but it was really more focused on looking in the mirror and being happy and seeing, okay, at this weight, it's my happy weight. So that's what I, was kind of focused on. And so my point is, whatever your happy weight is, you're going to fluctuate from that number. So whether it's 180 pounds or whether it's 115 pounds, whatever your happy weight is, you don't stay 180 pounds for the rest of your life. Even if you are able to maintain in, around that number, you might be 178 one week, and you might be 181.2 one week. Like, it fluctuates, right? Depending on how much sodium you have, how many carbs you ate, did you not get enough sleep, a whole bunch of factors. So essentially, I have kind of a 5-pound over-under range that I've given myself, and I just report to you whether I'm under my maintenance range, within my maintenance range, or over my maintenance range. Because for me, it's the guardrails that I want to pay attention to, especially the guardrail on the upper end, right? Because that's where you can start getting into trouble. I feel like a 5-pound fluctuation or so is fine, but, once I go over that, I probably need to take a look at what I'm eating. And that's probably not just you ate a whole, you ate a bowl of clam chowder last night that was, full of sodium or something. That's more, once you kind of get past that 5-pound mark, you're probably looking at more actual weight as opposed to just like fluid fluctuation or some inflammation or something. So that's kind of how I do maintenance as far as like reporting to you guys, but also in my own brain. I really don't pay attention to, I was down 0.6 pounds from last week, or I was up, 1.2 pounds from last week, or whatever it is. It doesn't, I just, like I said, I don't pay any attention to it. It's just more of, oh, okay, I'm within that range on either side. Cool, great, move on, So the way I've been handling maintenance, because there have been no studies on it, there's no, you should do this and then you do this and then you do this, right? Some doctors will have you come down on your dose. Some doctors will have you maintain your dose, but try to space out the time in between shots, things like that. I mean, there's just no, I don't think that there's necessarily a right way, just as much as I don't think that there's a right way to, or a formula, I should say, to titrate up in your medicine. Somebody like me, I only went up to 5 milligrams. I guess I should have said that. So I never went past 5 milligrams. Whereas somebody may have to go all the way up to 15 milligrams to lose all the weight that they want to lose, or 10 milligrams, whatever it is. So it's not a one size fits all on how you take your medication to lose weight, and it's not a one size fits all for how you maintain your weight. So, after discussing it with my provider, and I do use Friday's Health, by the way, to get my medication. I am an affiliate with Friday's Health. So if you would like to join Friday's Health and save some money on your first month, you can use the code Lisa and you'll save. It varies depending on, when you might be seeing this video. So it's been $100 recently. They did just start, by the way, if you are watching this around when I put it out, a microdosing option. So for those of us who are in maintenance and you want to do more microdosing and having more specific formulas for you, they're doing custom formulations in microdosing. And so that's going to be fantastic for maintenance. So check out their website. It's joinfridays.com if that's something that you are interested in. And you can use my code for the microdosing as well. That is a brand new program that they have just brought out. And there's all sorts of information about it on the website. I can certainly try to answer questions, but probably you'll get the most answers to your questions looking at the website and the frequently asked question section about it. But it's a really new, exciting program that they're starting because there are a lot of us now who are moving into maintenance, right? There have been enough of us who have moved through our weight loss and have been successful. And so many of us are now trying to figure out what we're doing. So initially, my provider and I thought I would try backing down to 2.5. So I did that for, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks or so. And I almost immediately started hearing food noise, and the scale started inching up a little bit as well. And so I talked to my doctor. I had sent her a message in the portal and I said, hey, I'm really hearing the food noise. I think I would like to go back up to 5 milligrams, and she was fine with that. So I went back up to 5 milligrams. And then I decided, okay, what I'll do is I'll try to start spacing out my doses. And so that's really kind of what I've done since like week 30 or so. So around October, mid-October timeframe. So over 6 months now, I've just been kind of playing with that, spacing my doses out. Originally I started, I went from 7 days to 8 days, and then I did that for a couple weeks, and then I went from 8 days to 9 days, and I did that for several weeks, and just to get my body accustomed to spacing out the doses. It's just kind of playing around, seeing what works for your body, what doesn't. But that's how I'm handling maintenance at the moment. So I'm going to talk right now just about probably the two things that I wish, if I was starting all over again, that I would have done differently. The first, I kind of mentioned this earlier in the video, is that I would have done a DEXA scan day dot, right? And I honestly didn't even know about DEXA scans then, so it's not like I can really kick myself for not doing one because I didn't even know what they were then. But I really wish that I had that information. But I have no idea how much muscle loss I really had doing this. The only benchmark I have from going forward now is the one that I had in July, which is great. I'm glad I have it because I was still losing weight from whatever it was, beginning of July until the middle of September. So in August, basically 2 more months or so. I was able then to see whether or not I was continuing to lose muscle when I had that second DEXA scan in October. But I have no idea from the very end of March until July when I had that first DEXA scan. And basically, so if I had that DEXA scan, let's say it was week 14, I had lost 37 pounds by then. I don't know how much of that 37 pounds was muscle versus fat, versus obviously there was certainly water fluid in there too, but that would have been really nice to know. So if you are watching this and you haven't started your journey yet, or if you have started your journey and you haven't done a DEXA scan, where I would just highly encourage you, the earlier on the better, that you have a DEXA scan. Most decent sized cities, you don't have to live in New York City to find a DEXA scan. Some physicians will order them, and so maybe they'd be covered by your insurance. Super helpful though. So when I had that second one in October, it was amazing. Second thing that I would do differently is starting weight training sooner. I really did not do any exercise, doing any cardio either, although, I know that I think cardio is that beneficial from a weight loss standpoint, okay? Please, when I say this, and by the way, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical provider, I am not giving medical advice. This is just me, a random person, telling you what happened to me, okay? Just my experience. But I would have started earlier. Now, don't get me wrong, I am thrilled with the progress that I have made, but, I feel like I certainly lost muscle mass. I is going to lose some muscle mass. You never not lose some lean muscle as you're losing weight. It is just a fact. But I'm sure I lost more than I needed to. And it is very hard to put muscle back on. And so I wish I had started strength training earlier because I hopefully would have maintained more lean muscle than I'm having now. So those are probably the two I wish kind of things in my journey. Okay, so let's go through some questions that you guys had for me about my whole journey and whatever. The first is, did I switch up injection sites and did I feel any difference? Yes, I absolutely changed up my injection sites. I generally rotated around my belly button kind of, and then I also did my upper thighs, both right and left, and I alternated through there. I have never, ever taken a shot in my arm. I've heard more bad things about arm injection sites than I have about any other area. So honestly, I was losing really well. I think a lot of people would describe me as a super responder or a hyper responder, whatever, however you want to term it. So I didn't really need to experiment with my arms. I think it seems as though people seem to have a lot more side effects when they did their arms. So for me, it was like, why would I bother? I'm losing totally fine doing it in my stomach or my thigh. So let's just keep it that way. Did I feel any difference? I honestly, I could go through and, look at my spreadsheet and try to do some data analysis. I don't think so. When you're talking about statistics and significant differences, or a statistically significant difference, I don't think I did. So that's your answer to that question. The next question is, why did I stay on 5 milligrams if I don't want to lose more weight? So I kind of touched on this already when I was talking about maintenance. It's just, it's a hit or miss, trial and error kind of thing. And yes, I have lost some additional weight on the 5 milligrams. That was not intentional, but you guys know I report to you on the range. So, yes, I'm still a little bit under my maintenance range, but I'm not intentionally trying to lose weight. And so because when I went down to the 2.5, I started to hear food noise again. I would rather play with the amount of time and stay on 5 milligrams. Lots of people don't go all the way back down to 2.5 when they're on maintenance. You just need to do what's best for you and what works for you. And 5 milligrams seems to be the sweet spot for me as far as, not obsessing about food, not having the food noise, but spacing it out. Next question, how long do I plan on taking the medication? That's a good question. I don't have any plans to go off of it. We'll kind of see how things play out as far as, spacing out. I love this idea of microdosing. I have a pretty large stockpile though of medicine that takes me out almost like an entire year. And if you are doing that, make sure that you are keeping track of your bud dates, okay? Your best use by date. I have a spreadsheet, again, that has all the different vials I have. So I really am intrigued by microdosing, and also by, 2026 or orforglipron should be out, and other things will be out that might be better for maintenance for me. I would love to just be able to take a pill. So, we'll kind of see where we go. I don't have I am going to wean off this medicine by whatever. I don't know if I will ever come off the medicine. When you have the disease of obesity, when you have a metabolic disorder, as I clearly did by the response that my body had to this medication, and treating that metabolic disorder just like you would treat high blood pressure, right? And so, yes, you treat high blood pressure and your blood pressure is down, but you don't go off the medication because then your blood pressure is going to go back up again. So I think people need to understand that about this medicine, that, if you have the disease of obesity and you have a metabolic disorder, that doesn't get cured just because you lost weight and you were taking the medicine. It's not a cure. It is a tool. It is a medication to help you, go into a calorie deficit so that you can lose weight and then maintain weight. Hopefully that answers that question. Next question was, did I experience any insomnia? So I don't know that I have any other actual side effect questions, so I'll just talk about side effects in general, and I'll answer the question of, did I have insomnia? Look, I'm postmenopausal. My hormones are a wreck, and I actually am now on HRT, hormone replacement therapy. I've slept horribly, honestly, for the past probably 10, 15 years. So I don't know that I could really ever attribute my lack of sleep or how I slept to this medication. So I don't really think that I experienced anything. My biggest side effect was constipation. Now, I did suffer from nausea from week 5 until probably week 15 or so, and I did take Zofran. Is that right? I think that's the name of the medication. But yeah, that, like I said, went away after that. I haven't experienced nausea in forever. Still experience constipation. I do take Mag07. I was taking it on a very, very regular basis. I've really tried to back off of it because, I didn't realize until I started reading some things that you're really not supposed to take it on a regular basis, like a daily basis. You're only kind of supposed to take it as needed. So I've backed off of that, and I sort of only take it now when I feel myself getting to not so great of a point. So anyway, hopefully that answers that question. But yeah, other than that, I haven't had really, I didn't have any diarrhea. I didn't have really any vomiting. I've never gotten really tired from my shot or anything like that. I know, there's a lot of different side effects that some people experience, but for me, pretty much constipation. The next question is, what do I eat in a day? I'm going to answer that question by referring you to the several videos that I have on my channel about what I eat in a day. There are several that I did, or at least a couple that I did during my actual weight loss phase. I would, direct you to those if you are in weight loss mode, and those I think would be really good. And then I've done at least one, maybe two, and I actually will have another one coming out that is more about maintenance. We'll try to remember to link those videos down below so you can easily watch them. The next question is, what can you do for loose skin besides surgery? And then I think the question was how old I am. So I say that at the beginning of every video. I guess I didn't say it here though. So I am a 58 now year old postmenopausal female, obviously. I'm the mom of 4. We live in New York City, so I have the window open. So if you hear sirens or things or honking in the background, I'm very sorry, but it's like 70 degrees outside. It's beautiful, so I'm gonna have the window open. So that's how old I am. What can you do for loose skin? Not really very much. There's creams out there. I'm actually testing one right now for TikTok that I got sent to try. So I'm doing one thigh and I'm not doing the other thigh. So we'll see like after 30 days if there's any difference. I don't really know that there's a whole lot you can do. I think there are some like non-invasive kind of things that you might be able to do, like through a med spa or, a plastic surgeon's office that does some aesthetics kind of thing that maybe you can do to sort of help tighten skin. I feel like there is some kind of non-invasive. There's some kind of like laser or something I think that you can do. Honestly, I've never investigated that. I've gone the invasive route. Okay, so I did just recently 3 months ago. If you didn't see that video, my last video that I put out was my 3-month update on surgery and how I'm doing and what things look like now. So I had brachioplasty, actually what he calls an upper body lift. So I had a brachioplasty, which is removing the excess skin from your arms. I had a breast lift, and I also had breast implants, which were very large, removed. And I'm trying to figure out what I want to do in the future as far as that's concerned. But so I had that back in the very beginning of February. I had a tummy tuck, and that was done in 2007. Other than that, well, obviously I had the breast implants put in. That was back in like 2003, something like that. So I had those for like 22 years. So other than that, I haven't done anything else. I only did a regular tummy tuck. I did not have a circumferential lift, or like a lower body lift is what they call. But yeah, I think, unless you want to, do some research on some of those non-invasive but in-office type treatments that you can do, I think maybe one of them's called all therapy. Does that sound right? If anybody has any knowledge of that sort of strikes a bell from like where I used to go get my Botox. Like I think they did that there. Anyway, I think that's something that you could try. But yeah, I'm more about get it cut off and have it be gone. All right, somebody asked about my hair loss and what I am doing, basically an update. So I unfortunately did suffer from excessive hair loss as a result of losing weight so quickly. It did taper off, so it really was, if you kind of read again about it, generally they say it lasts for about 3 months or so, or kind of once you stabilize your weight, which for me was about 3 months after. So it started in around the July time frame, and pretty much by September, which is, when I hit my kind of final goal and started just going into maintenance, it really then started decreasing. Now I am still doing all the things, although I did give up taking my oral minoxidil because I am fairly confident that is what caused the fluid around my heart. So for those of you who, maybe knew, when I was doing all of my pre-op evaluations for the plastic surgery that I had, my father died of a massive heart attack at a very young age, at 54. And so because of that, the regular doctor that I saw here in New York, who's not my regular physician, is actually still back in Kansas City because I go back every once in a while and do my physicals with him, but anyway, it doesn't matter. But I saw a kind of a random doctor here to get my medical clearance, and he was not comfortable giving me medical clearance, which is fine, until I saw a cardiologist because of my familial history. So I went to the cardiologist, and my own fault, folks, this was my fault. I did not even think to put on that I was taking that supplement, that the minoxidil and biotin supplement. I just kind of thought of it as a supplement, but it really was, it's a prescription, and I should have thought about that, and I didn't put it on my list of medications, which is probably why then he never said anything. Like, I mean, why would he just randomly ask me, oh, do you happen to be taking minoxidil? So anyway, but apparently it is a side effect that some people do have this issue where they get fluid around the heart. So anyway, I stopped taking that. And I do have another echocardiogram, I think in June. So it should be about 3 months that I've been off of it. So fingers crossed, that's what it was. So I stopped taking that. I am going to go on now, like the regular foam minoxidil or whatever. I just haven't had a chance to buy it yet. So that's the only thing that I'm not doing, but I'm still doing some derma rolling, and I do scalp massage every night. I do Divi oil, or scalp serum every night. I do have a laser comb helmet treatment kind of thing that I do every other night. I use I'll put up the name of the shampoo. I cannot think of it, but it has a specific ingredient in it. It's in quite a few like anti-dandruff shampoos, but it blocks DHT. I think that's the right. It's been a while since I've talked about this, but I think that's what it is. It's a DHT blocker, and DHT is what can cause hair loss. So it doesn't help you grow new hair, but it helps with the shedding cycle. It helps minimize that. So between hopefully getting back on the minoxidil, which will help grow more hair, and I definitely have seen a ton of growth. In fact, I just washed my hair today, and it's so funny because like I go to dry it and it's so much thicker, like from here to here. Like it's weird. Like when I dry my hair, it looks so strange, and then it gets thinner and thinner as it goes down. So definitely seeing new growth, which is great. I'm actually kind of now concentrating the Divi scalp serum more on the back of my head, which I hadn't really been doing. So I'm kind of focusing it there because I also think that that's really been helping. So I'm trying to balance things out here. So I also take pumpkin seed oil, which again helps in DHT blocking. So yeah, I'm still basically doing all the things, and I really do think that it's been helping. It's so scary when it's happening. I mean, I literally would almost cry those first like 5-6 weeks when I would come out of the shower, and I only washed my hair once a week, and every time I had to wash my hair, it sent me into huge anxiety, panic mode, because I knew that when I came out, I mean, it was literally hands full in the drain, after my shower, and then I would go to brush or comb out my hair, after the shower. I'd put it up in a wrap or whatever, and then to let it, kind of get some of the excess moisture out of it. And then I would go and brush. I mean, and it just literally handful. It was so scary. Couldn't really do anything about that. I mean, I lost weight at the rate I lost it. And, I hindsight's 2020, I guess, but I don't know that I could have done anything differently, to be honest with you. But yes, it's going well. But you know what? I'm still gonna rock the wigs, you guys, because I love them. This is actually a new human hair wig that I just got, that I love because it's blonde, and I get to be blonde, and tomorrow I can be a brunette, and the next day I can have pink hair or purple hair or auburn hair or a bob, or down to here. Like, anyway, I love it. So, and it's going to be a while before my hair really gets to where I would be comfortable wearing it. So anyway, that was a very long-winded update on the hair. Next question was meal plans. Kind of food do I eat? Calorie and protein each day, alcohol, and the effect. I'm gonna not answer the whole meal plan thing because, again, I'm gonna refer you to previous what I eat in a day videos. As far as alcohol and effect, I'm not a big drinker to begin with, so not drinking alcohol was not really a big deal for me. I have had a glass of wine here and there, mostly probably during maintenance. I would say, I would really avoid it. It's just empty calories. So if you are in your weight loss phase of this journey, I would really try to avoid it. There's no reason to have it, to be honest. So that would be my answer to that. This question was interesting. Can you get off the shot permanently when you lose weight from the shot alone? And I'm going to answer this by saying you do not lose weight from the shot alone, okay? I think there's this huge misconception out there that this shot is like, it makes you lose weight. It doesn't make you lose weight, okay? You still have to put in the work. It helps you put in the work, right? It helps it so it takes the food noise out of your brain so you're not constantly thinking about food and what are you going to eat for lunch and what are you going to eat for this coming weekend because you're going out and all those things. Oh my God, there's donuts in the break room. There's donuts in the break room. There's donuts in the break room. It takes all that away and it does help you feel satiated and fuller faster and longer so that you can eat fewer calories, which then puts you in a calorie deficit so that you can lose weight. But the shot itself, the medicine itself, does not cause you to lose weight. So that's the way I'm going to answer that question. The next question and last question before I get into these kind of off-topic ones are, do I have any support group recommendations? I really don't, outside of a mental health coaching sessions that you have through Friday's Health, which I think are incredible. That would honestly probably be the only support group that I would recommend because it's led by a therapist and, you're not going to get the noise and the bad information and the toxic people and it just, in general, I think most of the Facebook groups out there are really toxic and you can get some horrible information. There are people out there that are trying to sell, off-label and gray market drugs. It's just, I personally would not recommend any of them. So yeah, the only one that I would recommend is the one through Friday's Health because it's run by a therapist. Can you add the rest of a vial to another vial? So you don't want to do that. Now you don't want to waste your medicine, okay? So you have two options here. You can either use 2 different syringes and withdraw all of the rest of the medication. So let's say your dose is 50 units, okay? And the vial that you're ending, you can, eke out 10 units out of that. You can take a second syringe and then pierce the new vial and draw 40 units out of that. Or you can, it depends on how you feel about sterility and those kind of things. That's probably best practice, let me say that, okay? Best sterility practice would be to withdraw with 1 syringe everything you can out of the vial that you're finishing, and then use a second syringe, which obviously means you have to give yourself 2 shots, out of the new syringe. To be honest with you, that's not the way I do it. I will be very honest with you. I use 1 syringe, and so this just actually happened to me recently. I withdrew whatever amount of that vial that was finishing, and then I used the same syringe. Yes, could I possibly be introducing some additional bacteria into that? Yes, I suppose, but anytime you introduce a needle into it, there's the potential of bacteria. So anyway, but you should not mix it is my point. So no, I would never withdraw what was left in one vial and then put it into another vial, because that vial that you've used that you're finishing, you've punctured that 4 times already, right? I mean, because you're just trying to get that last amount that was left over. And generally there are 4 weeks worth, 4 injections worth in a vial. So every time you do that, you are introducing, bacteria and things into the vial. So I would definitely never mix vials. I would just simply withdraw from one, finish that vial, and then withdraw the rest from another. So the final 2 kind of off-topic questions were, one was, what do we do for a living? I'm not going to tell you exactly. I'm an attorney by trade, and I negotiate contracts for a living, and my husband is in digital marketing and sales. So that is what we do. And then the other question was, why did we move to New York City, and was it a significant transition in lifestyle for the kids, or did they adapt easily? So for those of you, again, who may not know my family, I did say I am a mom of 4. We have 2 that are out of the house, and then we have 16-year-old twins who are obviously still at home with us. Yes, it was certainly a change, right? It was a change for all of us. I mean, we went from living in a car-driven, society. We lived in the suburbs of Kansas City, and, you drove a car everywhere. My daughter wanted to go to Target. I had to drive her to Target. Now she can take the subway to Target. The reason why we chose to come to New York, we have no family here. We both work remotely, so we weren't pulled here by jobs. We just really wanted to move here. Both my husband and I love New York, but we did it now because we really wanted to give our kids a different view of the world. It's pretty homogenous in Kansas City, and a very sort of sheltered suburban lifestyle, and I think that it was really nice to bring them to a city where there is way more diversity. And I look at the friends, especially that my daughter has now here, and I mean, just a wide variety of ethnicities and skin color and religions, and it's amazing. And she would never want to go back to Kansas City. It's really interesting. And she was the one who was not super happy about moving here. I will tell you that. She was kind of the holdout. And honestly, from her first day of school here, she has never looked back. Now, one of her best friends is still in Kansas City, and she has continued that friendship. They talk every day on FaceTime. But as far as anybody else in Kansas City, she could care less, and she loves her friends here, and they both love their freedom here. I will say that's really it was a benefit for us too, because as I just said, anytime they wanted to go somewhere, we moved when they were 14, I had to drive them somewhere, right? They wanted to go to a friend's house, I had to drive them, unless they lived like a couple blocks away or whatever. She wanted to go to Target, they wanted to go to Starbucks, whatever it was, I had to drive them, or another mom had to drive them. Here, they can walk, they can take the subway, and so they found a sense of freedom here that they never would have had in Kansas City until they turned 16 and started driving. So, now they're 16. They're not going to drive for a while because we did sell both of our cars. So, there have been a lot of adjustments here. Like, for example, I just went to Costco this morning because I needed to get some storage tubs, and I had to take an Uber back. I took the bus there because obviously I'm not carrying things to Costco, so I can take the bus. It's super easy. It's like a 15-minute ride and like a 10-minute walk once you get off the bus. It's like 2.5 blocks once you get off the bus. And yeah, you do that, and then you call an Uber, you load it in the back of the car, and they pull up right in front of your building, and you unload it and put it on one of the carts that they have here, and you take it up to your place. And yeah, so lots of things to get used to, but we really enjoy it. And being able to walk so much in the city is great, and just every neighborhood is different. My older son actually happens to be here visiting, and he and I were down like in the West Village, and he's like, gosh, every time I come down here, it's so different from where you live. We're on the Upper East Side, and there's so many tall buildings, and lots of tall condos and co-ops and apartment buildings and things. And you think of the skyline of Manhattan as being all these skyscrapers, but down in the West Village, it's really a lot lower buildings. Most buildings are no more than maybe like 6 stories. It just has a very different vibe to it. It's really hip and trendy right now, very expensive to live in. But we walked from there, and then we walked kind of through Chelsea, and then we walked over into the meatpacking district, and then we walked all the way over to the Hudson River and walked up that for quite a while, back all the way up to Hudson Yards. And all of those neighborhoods have very, very different feels. So that's something that's really cool about New York, that, yes, there's a difference in Kansas City between the suburbs and the city, But other than that, it's kind of all the same. You know, when you're in the suburbs, it all looks the same. When you're in the city, it pretty much all looks the same. So yeah, we've really, really enjoyed it here, and the kids, both of them, love it here, and really adjusted very, very quickly. So thanks for asking. So that is my 1 year recap. I'm, just kind of going along my maintenance journey here. If you enjoy it, like I do generally do a weekly update into how the last week was. So you can kind of keep up with my journey if you want. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the before and after pictures that I popped up here along the way. I didn't talk about measurements, but I think you can probably see from the before and after pictures, yeah, I'm a significantly smaller person now than I was. That's something that's really interesting. I guess I will say one more thing is it wasn't that I thought I was thin, or I knew I was in a bigger body, but wow, when I look at pictures now of myself back in like March before I started this journey in 2024, that is not what I saw in the mirror. That's what's so interesting is you can have body dysmorphia in both directions, right? I shouldn't say I never, but I really didn't see myself as big as I was. In fact, my mom was looking back at some pictures too. I think she was watching some old videos of mine, and she's like, wow, she's like, I don't remember you looking like that. I don't remember myself looking like that, and I have a YouTube channel. I have 2 YouTube channels now. I take out for the day pictures. I have plenty of pictures of myself. So it's amazing how your brain can really play a trick on you, I guess, in the same way that now I have body dysmorphia of, I go clothing shopping and I hold up a piece of clothing that, is the size that I know that I am that size, or generally, right? It could be a size down or a size up, whatever, because, we know there's no sizing consistency out there, even within the same brand. But I still hold it up and think, there's no way that is going on my body. And then it goes on my body just fine. And so it takes a while for your mind to catch up. Somebody just had a comment on my recent video, and I was saying that it takes a while for your mind to catch up with your body. And I will say, even after losing that significant amount of weight back in 2006, I could still go into stores in 2010 and still kind of struggle a little bit with, really, I know that's my size, but I'm not so sure. So be kind to yourself, just realize that it's a process and it may take a while, but you will get there. But yeah, that is definitely one thing, going back and then seeing these before and after pictures. I'm like, wow, okay. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any other questions, please leave them below. I am happy to answer them. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm. And subscribe if you haven't already. Would love to see you back here. If you want to keep on watching, there'll be another video on the screen for you to watch. And remember, kindness and hate spread the same. The choice is yours. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.